Nebraska Preps postgame with Damon Benning and Jacob Padilla.
Shoot, that's that voice. That means we got to get ready to go. One of my favorite parts of the week, primarily because I get to keep good company. My man JP joins us with Nebraska Preps postgame. We're getting to the end here.
Hard to believe. 14 teams left.
Yeah.
That's it.
It has been very, very interesting. I'm in a much better mood than I could be, so that's a good thing. That is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I heard you on the radio the other day complain about all your various sports teams. I'm like, well, the most important one's still alive, right?
How about that, right? Like, for as much as my teams drive me crazy, I have to cheer for LeBron, Russ. I have to cheer for Mason Rudolph, Kershaw's. I don't know what we're going to do with free agency with the Dodgers, but West Side is alive and kicking, man. It was crazy, right? You manage the week of weather. You know it's a big-time stage. The cream is starting to rise. If you're playing at this time of the year, late November, you're a good team. There are no flukes. The Columbus Lakeviews, those folks that everybody said shouldn't be here, maybe even Gretna to some degree, depending on how you feel. Maybe us. You're here and you're playing. You're obviously a very, very good football team.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to look just at the breakdown of the seeds. We've got 4 number 1 seeds still alive, 4 number 2s, 2 number 5s, a 7, a 9, a 10, and 11. And
is the 11 Lakeview?
Yep. Yes.
And the 10, don't tell me the 10 will be.
You got some gear on the way coming.
Cross County.
Yes, sir.
Cross County is the 10?
Yep.
Wow, they played Howell's Dodge tough. So I'm starting to get all the huddle film from these teams. And they played Howell's Dodge the first time without their best player. That one's, although Howell's Dodge is loaded.
We'll get to all these results, but just certainly interesting mix of teams that we'll have playing.
That is a big, strong football team. But Cross County could make the case, hey, we battled with you the first time around without not even arguably, our best player. Well, there's going to be some doozies, man. I mean, we could start wherever you want to.
Let's start right off the top with your team right there, Class A.
Yeah, that was so we talked, right? And you know me. There's some things I say. I talk to you off the record a lot more than I would say on. I liked our game plan going in, right? I felt like, and I was honest. I said, hey, I feel like our scheme is good. I like our game plan. We just can't give up 50-50 balls because they have more racers than we do. It turns out it wasn't really much of a factor, the middle portion of that game.
Well, that was the most impressive part. Like, we talked about kind of the difference in experience, and they had older players. You wondered how that would factor in. And right out the gates, you guys fall behind 20-3. And to fight back, to get back in that game and then take control of that game, that was really impressive. 41-6 the rest of the way for a 41-26 or 41-3 the rest of the way. 41-26 win there. That was impressive resiliency for, again, a team playing so many young guys, and some of those young guys made some huge plays during that comeback.
Yeah, that sophomore class it's been talked about. We've talked about it in basketball. We've talked about it in football. The year 2024 in the Metro will be very, very good. Doesn't matter if it's football, basketball, baseball. They've got those sports covered. Davon Hall was in full display. We kept him in check, right? Nothing vertical, no big plays. He was pretty workmanlike. I think he was probably about 8 or 9 per catch. We kept him in front of us. But a couple of class acts, right? So this is the coach in me, right? I look at Bellevue West. I look at Caden Helms, fantastic ambassador. He was such a good sport. Class act. L.J. Richardson, who was punished. Listen, for his
44 carries. 194 yards, but 44 carries.
Yeah, only 4.5 a carry. There was the middle portion of this game where, obviously, with the relationships that have been forged off the field, LJ's a guy that is close to our family. There was a point where I was like, I wouldn't say feel bad, right? I'm competitive, but I was like, this is not going to be his night, right? Because, the first quarter and a half, he had the 19 carries. Then there was this middle portion where it was like, he was taking shot after shot after shot. Our defense really hunkered down. Mike O'Reilly made his claim. He may have been their best player on the field. I felt like for all the guff his critics give him about not being this or that or, talking too much, he showed up. He was as good as advertised on Friday night.
4 catches for 118 yards and a touchdown. Caden Helms threw in 7 catches for 123 yards.
Riley had the long kickoff return. I told our guys, he ran a little bench route, got vertical on Dom and scored. And I said, he's faster than he looks, right?
Yeah.
Like, he got on us in a hurry.
23 for 33 for 305 yards and 2 touchdowns for Luke Johansson. Bellevue West moved the ball.
They did.
But you guys found a way to not let them score in that second half.
Yeah, 87 plays they ran. The yards per play weren't as good. Like, for instance, we snapped the ball 52 times. We had 450 some odd yards.
8.6 for you guys, 5.6 for them.
You keep that number down. That's the difference. We were able to just get chunk plays, but I felt like physically in the middle of that game, we really wore them down, kind of sapped their spirits a little bit. Johansson, it was a great effort, but, man, he took some shots. He is a tough kid. He got off the ground time and time again because our defense was relentless in terms of the shots that he took.
Yeah, and then I think, obviously, we've talked about the quarterback change multiple times throughout the season, but once again, that came up big with Anthony Rizak, 15 for 20 for 245 yards and 4 touchdowns and 13 carries for 70 yards.
He's way good.
He moves the ball. He just does what he needs to get the ball forward.
He's got really good command of the game. He's a good athlete. He's got good height. He's going to grow into his frame. He just makes plays.
The thing that stuck out the most about this game, though, is another sophomore, Jamez Ross. 12 carries for 123 yards. Yeah. 3 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. And with Ross kind of carrying the load, you guys were able to shift Dominic Rizak.
That's the key.
More as a receiving back and play a lot on defense.
That is the key. We could use Dom in the passing game and really rely on him defensively. The safety play I told you was going to be important between Caleb and Dom. They were really strong up the middle. So Jamez's versatility, carrying the load on offense really, really helped us. He's a tough guy. It's hard for the first guy to get him down, and he kind of embodies the culture of the program. He's just going to make you snap it again. He's a tough guy. He's going to keep playing play after play after play. But I think you hit the nail on the head. You knew it was coming because we talked so much, right? We're going to get healthy on defense. We're going to move some guys around. Caleb was going to move to safety. We're going to use Dom on defense some more. We get a healthy Tommy Connolly back. Jack Wimmer moves from safety to outside linebacker. It really changed the way that we could play defense. So if you saw us in week 5 or week 6, you're probably thinking,
which is about what I did.
Right? You're probably thinking, they're like, we're okay. But we kept kind of hinting around like, we're going to be really good. We said that Westside had the most room for growth from where they were with the healthy bodies. We played 6 weeks without Jamez. It was just going to be different.
And that's a credit to the coaching staff and the kids that they're able to. You see that growth potential and to achieve it, to get all the way there. And now here they are with the chance to play for a state title.
Yeah, really got to give Coach Friend a lot of credit. There were 2 things that he kind of saw that were key. One, he believed in number 6, Isaac Richards, who got off to a really slow start at the cornerback spot. And he said he brought our staff in and talked about all these changes that he wanted to do. He said, hey, listen, if we want to play for it all, these are the things that we have to do. And obviously it was getting Caleb in the middle, playing Dom more on defense, moving Wimmer from the secondary to the outside linebacker. We couldn't do any of it unless Isaac Richards was a guy that we could trust at the cornerback spot. He has flourished and been fantastic. The other thing is he almost saw it from the jump. He was probably the biggest advocate of going young at the quarterback spot. And we saw it, but maybe not as soon as he saw it in terms of, if we're going to do it, let's do it now and grow into it. And we were like,
and that's never easy when
we need some time, man. Kobe's a good leader. We're winning.
Yeah, guy that's put in time for the program has kind of waited his turn. You hoping maybe give him a chance here. He'll kind of settle in a little bit here, but that's not an easy call, but it's one that has made a huge difference. And credit to everybody for stepping up and rolling with the changes and doing well with it.
Really changed the way that we could play, and I felt like it was going to be a good matchup for Bellevue West. I know I talked to Coach Huffman a lot since they've played that game. There's obviously a couple things they would have done different, but one thing he did say that I was really, really appreciative about, and I like talking to him just because he's a good football mind. Yeah. He really liked the way he said it. I'm amazed at how sudden and how quick you guys decide what you're going to do, right? There's no reading and slowing down. Like, we're very decisive. We're decisive on offense. We're decisive on defense in terms of fits. And a lot of it is just the way we practice. I mean, we practice a lot of game-type speeds, right? It's called warrior speed. We have red, yellow, and green. I mean, we stand warrior speed all the time. We don't always take guys to the ground, but we tackle twice a week. We condition in the middle of practice. There are lots of little subtle things that I think we do that really helped us prepare for that one.
And that's a big key to coaching, especially for football, is finding that mix between going hard in practice and making sure not to do too much. Because the only real way to guarantee that production translates from practice field to the game field is to make practice as much like games as possible. And obviously you can't go full contact all week long, but kind of finding a mix there where you feel good about what you're getting done without kind of putting the kids at an extra risk is a mark of good coaching.
Yeah, Coach Huffman was extra gracious, too. He said, I can't believe how well you guys tackle. He said, I knew Caleb was a really good tackler. We saw that on film. He said, but the whole team tackles. He said, we tackled twice a week, which in high school, 2 times a week where you do live tackling, that's a lot, right? And there are even sometimes where I'm thinking, gosh, you know what, we should maybe think about backing it down. And, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. And he's on the same page as our strength and conditioning program because that's our offensive coordinator, so they know the heavy leg days. And it just really works well. It is a well-oiled machine, and now they're starting to get you just graduated a Dickerson, a Payton, a Hurtado, a Haberman, a Ben Radisha, and just more good players are starting to come, and they're young.
Yeah. Well, speaking of oiled machines, I guess we can jump over to the other game, a 34-0 win for Gretna over Omaha North. And impressive run by the Vikings, but kind of fairy tale story came to an end.
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? How many weeks in a row have we said, gosh, I feel like Gretna they're the yeah, but team. That's what I like to call them. Everybody that watches them, yeah, but. And I said, hey, listen, go back. I watched the Central game. Fantastic. That was kind of before I felt like Central had kind of thrown in the towel. The second performance against Elkhorn South, the first half performance against Elkhorn South the first time around. I just felt like that's a pretty complete football team, and they don't have a lot of weaknesses. When you get a guy like Huber who runs it as hard as he does, he's their leading tackler on defense. I like Lucas in the middle of that D-line. That is a well-coached, pretty complete football team. Their special teams doesn't get them beat. They're good on defense. They can run the ball, and they can throw it, too.
Well, that's the most impressive part is obviously we coming into the year, we talked about the Zane Flores show. That's what this team is. Kind of viewed them a little bit like Lincoln East. We came to see the same way, and they certainly have evolved into a complete football team. And to go from that first-round game against Lincoln East where 59-42. You gave up 42 points shortly after Prep had shut down Lincoln East, held them to 7 points. You kind of felt a little bit shaky there. Like, do they have enough on that side of the ball? Fast forward the last 2 weeks, they've given up a total of 7 points. So with you mentioned a lot of the key players on that side of the ball, but just so impressive the way that they've really been able to lock in. And they won that Elkhorn South with their defense because they only scored 14 points and needed kind of a late bomb to take the lead. And this last game they won with just a complete performance, offense, defense. They were up 14-0 at halftime, and outscored them 14-0 in the third quarter, just kind of put them away. And first downs are 23-8, just complete dominance.
I don't think North had a first down in the first half. I mean, we're watching the huddle film, and we're kind of getting tendencies and formations and stuff. But as we're going, you're just noticing how few of plays North has ran, and you're going back to kind of chart it. I don't think North had a first down in the first half, nor did they complete a pass.
That's just a crazy, especially the way that they've made this run, where out of no, obviously, Larry Martin run first. Tayshawn Porter's had a great year, but the way they've been able to make it to this game was
through the air.
Yeah, with Jordan Williams and Keyshawn Williams and these guys just kind of merging into a dangerous passing attack. And you mentioned it was windy there. It kind of swirls down.
There's zero trees out there. It is wide open.
But they just could not, for whatever reason, find a way to lock in there and connect. And it's going to be tough to keep up with Gretna when you can't complete a forward pass.
Well, they have such balance, right? I talked about Lucas up front. I love Blake Moore, number 5, who is really good on defense. I like Connor Edwards, 21.
Mick Huber's going to be as tough as anybody on the field every time he steps out there.
So I'm convinced, right? This just isn't, you know me. Yeah. This just isn't like, hey, because we play them. When you want to talk about two-way guys that are underappreciated but could make the case for like MVP type stuff, Mick Huber, he may be at the top of the discussion. He is unbelievable. He's fantastic on offense. He's probably better on defense. Like he's the real deal. I mean, I loved him before. All the things that he does. I mean, you're talking about 49 assisted tackles. He's got 29 unassisted. He's their leading rusher. He's a good player. He is a really good player.
And talked about the win. Zane Flores, 150 passing yards, 16 for 23, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Thing with that's been kind of impressive with him is, again, threat with his legs, 7 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, a couple key runs to extend plays in that one against North too. He was way good.
But Huber, 25 carries, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 3 passes for 21 yards, added 5 tackles. Just, again, another complete performance. And you look at kind of his season, he had 200-yard rushing games in the first 3 weeks. Then 6 straight games under 100. And then to start the playoffs, he's been 178, 104, 138, and that doesn't even include what he's done in the passing game, where he's a threat in that screen game. He's really good at that. So I think his emergence and their offensive line's ability to block for him, I think that has really opened up things and allowed them to get to this point where, again, they're playing for a state title next week.
Yeah, I think one of the keys for them is only a couple guys up front go both ways, and one in particular on the D-line. It's either 50 or 54. It's spot duty. So they're able to kind of platoon along those offensive and defensive fronts, which has really been a big deal, I think, for those guys because they play really good defense. I feel kind of like a broken record, but I feel validated now having watched so much of their game tape now in terms of the things that we've said all year. It's a much, much, much better team than the critics and maybe even their fan base. Flores is great. There's no question. Coach Frank looked at our team on Sunday, and we're going through install, and I'm talking to the outside linebackers, and he stops and he says, hey, listen, we saw a great passing offense last week. He said, this one is different. you need to be precise because this is as good a player at the quarterback spot as we've ever seen. And he said, and I quote, he can flat out spin it. He'll make you look silly.
Well, and he can put it anywhere.
That's the thing.
He's so good with the short passing game, the screens, the slants over the middle. And then if you fall asleep, he will hit you deep. Yeah. You cannot relax around him at any point anywhere on the field because if somebody's open, he's going to hit him.
They really make you cover all portions of the field. I think that's, and kind of watching them and breaking them down in my head, I think that's their biggest strength. They make you defend the whole field. Yeah,
and they don't have kind of the two D2 level wideouts they had
Marshall
last year
and those guys, and Alexander.
But what they do have is a lot of guys that can make a play on any given snap. T.J. Silliman was their leading receiver in this one. Braden Chaney can make plays. He had a touchdown. Their tight end, Caleb Chanel, is good. Joe Roll is their best receiver, and he didn't even make a huge difference on offense in this game. So
our theme this week, find number 2. Don't let the deuce get loose.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and then he's way good.
Then you cover all those guys down the field, and then he's dumping off to Huber, and he's running over linebackers. So, they've got a lot of options, and he's the kind of quarterback that can make the most out of all of them.
And it should be good. Obviously, it'll be an exciting final in A.
So we got number 2 Westside at 12-0 against number 5 Gretna at 11-1 in the kind of finals wrap-up game, 7:15 on Tuesday.
Yeah. Needless to say, I'm excited for that one.
Should be fun.
Yeah. Let's hop over to B.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't think any real surprise. I guess we'll probably start with the Aurora Scott game. And that was a really impressive showing. They had the lead.
I agree.
They had the lead. They just could not kind of hang on to it in the second half.
Getting ready to do the broadcast, so I go back and I'm watching. They held the lead of total game time. Scott was in control longer than I thought they would be. That was I don't know if that staff would say that's as good as they can play, but they played well, probably better than the score indicated.
Yeah, and the score was 21-17, so one-score game there, and Aurora, like you said, had to play from behind most of the game. Again, showing their experience, that run last year, to stay alive, to not panic, to kind of keep plugging away at it, and eventually they pulled ahead and got the win. But what stood out to you from what you were able to see?
So I like the versatility. Couple of really good backs in Aurora, and everybody knows about Owens, right? That's good, but Collazo,
he's been the one that's kind of been the engine all year.
The numbers don't really do him justice, though. It's not like these wide open hallway runs. He's got good toughness. He's got good vision. The first guy struggled to get him to the ground. Aurora's offensive line is big, and they are physical. Like, I don't know. That's a pretty complete football team. The last time I saw Aurora was a couple of years ago, obviously in the state finals, and Sharman was throwing it all around the yard. He was clearly the best player on the field. I'm like, this is a fantastic program. I mean, I love Danielson and Austin Allen from a couple years previous, but I mean, Sharman, like I was just captivated at the plays that he could make on the offensive side. This is a much different team for Coach Peterson, but almost equally as effective. Not as dominant as that team was, right? But I mean, Sharman could have made the case for the best player in the state that year as a senior. Yeah. I firmly believe that he was unreal. But this team is different, but almost equally as tough when I watch him play.
Yeah, and they haven't updated their stats the last 2 weeks, but first 10 games, Collazo, 7.8 a carry,
yeah, he's good,
20 touchdowns, 1,238 yards. He's tough, and they do just enough in the passing game. Got a steady quarterback, a handful of receivers making an impact. So
did a really good job against Scott's passing game. I think Scott missed a couple of open receivers, but you can't go 6 or 8 of 26 and think that you're going to come through with that. They just got away from the ground game at strange times.
And that's what we worried about with them.
I'm like, hey, run the ball, or your QB run game. I felt like could have bailed them out a little bit because Becker's such a big, strong runner, but just, they threw it quite a bit, which I felt like, I don't know, right? It's easy to second guess, and hindsight's always 20/20, but I would like to see a little more ground and pound and a little more QB run game.
Hindsight's 20/20, and unfortunately the coaches can't go back and change things now. But on the other side, speak of ground and pound, Bennington just continued to do what they do. 28-7 win over Elkhorn. It was 14-7 at halftime, and then they just shut them down in the second half.
Yeah, so this one's kind of scary, right? I feel like, and we'll talk to Coach Leonard, we'll talk to Cam tomorrow on our morning show, but Bennington may be, I'll say this, they may be better than I think. And we've said all year, clearly the best team in B. They're unbelievable. What would you take away? Now they got a healthy weapon. Like, Wempeny's playing on defense. It's just like they have so many options.
They had 5 guys with double-digit tackles.
It doesn't surprise me.
2 fumble recoveries, and their leading tackler was one of their interior linemen, Chevalier Curry, with 14 tackles.
Who's got great hands.
Yeah.
Boy, you watch him up front. He just he gets into guys. He's got good quick twitch. They're way complete.
And Dylan Mostek, ho-hum, 32 carries, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, had an 80-yard rush
He's a monster.
in there. And Traber just kind of does just enough. They don't ask him to do a ton. And
he had a 30-yarder, a 20-yarder, an 80-yarder. I mean, Mostek is – I'm excited to watch them, obviously doing that Class B game just to kind of watch how they work against a team in Aurora that I think is really, really good up front. Bennington will have their hands full with that offensive and defensive line. Yeah,
they got pretty good front 7 or so. Got some good linebackers, too, kind of cleaning things up. So we'll see. This will be as tough a test as Mostek has faced all year. Nobody shut him down to this point.
Well, surprise at all? How are you looking at C1 right now?
I would say I didn't get
let's go C2 first.
Yeah. Okay, that works.
Let's go C2 first with Pearson and Lakeview, who everybody in Lakeview, home of Jeff Lake, my former teammate at Nebraska, has told me they were misseeded. It's a better team than people give them credit for. Beware of Columbus Lakeview.
Yeah. Well, that is C1. But
that's right. And I said I was going to jump to C2, and I go to C1.
But yeah,
that's
Lakeview,
just me.
As the number 11 seed, 9-3 now, knocking off Kearney Catholic, handing them their first loss of the season, 31-21.
Yeah, Coach Harvey. That was a tough loss for that bunch because they were way good.
And they had a great season, and they tried to rally in the fourth. They were down 14-7 at halftime, down 24-7 heading into the fourth, and then they got 2 touchdowns in the fourth to try to get back into it, but kind of ran out of time there. And that's an impressive run by Lakeview. Again, Kearney Catholic had been kind of rolling teams all season long. They had good players at a lot of different positions. Brett Mahoney had a great year at quarterback. They were able to Greiser run the ball really well. And so that's a really good win for Lakeview, and they certainly earned their trip to the final.
Yeah, and a Brahmer-led Pierce bunch used to winning. It's late November. You think that Pierce Blue Jays will be spotted somewhere outside.
21-0, the final on that. The number that sticks out to me, 11 sacks. That is absurd. I don't know if that was a typo
I don't think that we've seen anything like that in the high school game, have we?
Nick Harvey had 3. They had 3 other guys with 2 others with 1. Like, that is just absurd. They didn't have a huge game offensively, just 205 yards rushing. Bramer had 2 catches, 63 yards, and a score. But, yeah, Michael Krunterad had 17 carries for 124 yards.
They share the wealth, don't they?
Yeah. So 21-0. That's just not a huge game offensively. This was all on the defense. And, again, Battle Creek had 23 carries for minus 25 yards.
It's typically not going to get it done, is it?
No. So, yeah, we get number 9 Pierce against number 11 Lakeview in the C1 final.
And quickly, let's hop over to C2 with Norfolk Catholic and Bergen. It's very hard for me to kind of think that the McIntyre brothers don't get it done. But Norfolk Catholic has been there, done that. You talk about battle-tested and championship caliber pedigree. You're going to get it here.
And they are the number 1 seed despite having that one loss. Bergen at 12-0 is number 2. But, yeah, Koa McIntyre was the difference against Ord in that rematch from last year's state final. It was a 20-0 win for Bergen, and McIntyre at 160 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, 140 yards rushing, had an interception on defense. They really shut everybody else down. He was the one real threat, and he was able to get it done in a lot of different ways like he normally does.
Yeah, Bergen thinking at 45-5-5-5 in terms of their wild card points. Norfolk Catholic at 45-8-8. You're literally within hundreds of a point in terms of the old Dewey Decimal System, not associated with the library.
And Norfolk Catholic was 35-12 win over Wilbur Clutonia, who has made the run as a 13 seed. But 14-0 at halftime, and then they just kind of steadily pulled away in the second half.
A lot of familiarity between Ord and Bergen, right? They had seen each other quite a bit and didn't disappoint in that one. Ord just overwhelmed, I think. Bergen a little bigger, I think, on the hoof than I think some teams think when they get ready to play him.
Bergen held them to 150 yards of offense. That's really impressive performance.
All right, so for C2, we'll do predictions. I can do C2, C1, and I won't do A since I'm on the broadcast for D2, D1, and B. I'll take Bergen over Catholic. What do you like?
Definitely Bergen.
What about Lakeview and Pierce?
I'll go Pierce just with the role they're on right now.
Do you want to take a shot at Class A? I won't be offended.
I'll go West Side in that one.
Okay, so we can be friends for another week.
Bennington and B, that one's a pretty easy pick. So, real quick, we'll just run through the D1 final will be Howells Dodge against Cross County.
I can't wait. Cross County played that one the first time without arguably their best player. I've watched them a ton now on Huddle. Should be high scoring in that one. Howells Dodge is loaded.
It's 5 versus 10 there.
Loaded.
And one loss between them, and it was in their previous meeting.
Yeah.
In D2, it's number 1 Sandhill Stedford against number 7 Kennesaw.
I like Kennesaw. I can't. I won't comment since I'm doing the broadcast. Yeah. 2 good teams there.
And then 6 man, number 1 Potter Dix against number 2 Cody Kilgore. Both 12-0. They'll kind of get things started on Friday at UNK.
Yeah, the whole kit and caboodle. That's my man Jacob Padilla, one of the best in the business. I'm ODB. This is Nebraska Preps postgame. One more week of high school football before we roll over and talk all things hoops. We got you covered. He's one of the best in the business. Don't miss us next week.
A Hurrdat Media Production.